Before we get into the build, there's one important thing I need to mention. If I do bossing, I do bossing. That means I swap my stuff a little bit. And by bossing, I mean arbiterofash, kinginthemists, basically all the pinnacle bosses or the last boss in Trials of Sekemas on the floor for the Jinn. It's especially important whenever you do bosses that are already on like 4 difficulty, or whenever you do ascendancy carry and you have more than yourself in the trial. Then you will need a little bit more spice to your damage. And you will not take any of the damage, and you will just basically take care of the boss in an instant. That's why we do a little bit of swaps, because we basically do not need any defensives, because I can guarantee you the boss ain't touching you. The boss is going fucking down. But whenever I do mapping, I focus on doing mapping, and that basically means focusing on surviving. Because nothing is worse than getting pinned by 50 mobs, just completely body blocked, or getting into random explosion, or getting sniped off screen. Well, that's all about surviving in there. So let's go over the gear and look at this beauty what I just dropped. All the footage you saw in the intro is without this belt, so with this belt it only got better. I got it from my first attempt at kinginthemists, but I spent all of my currency I had available, and I borrowed from a viewer of mine's divine orbs to buy another one, because of course the first one I failed, not be expecting that well. Like with my Iron Citadel, I just killed him too fast and he did his animations, which I wasn't expecting. I was just expecting to get into the labyrinth, and that's how it goes sometimes, if you have too much damage. But let's go over the most important part of the build, without which one I think it's not really worth playing this build, this class, this ascendancy with crit. Because without these gloves, we need to invest into crit damage, which is really a big toll on your passives, on the amount of them. So you just equip those gloves, you get critical damage bonus set to 300, so you can pick passives that reduce your critical damage but gives you critical chance. And the gloves on their own are not that bad really. 16 dexterity, not the most of it. 5% increased attack speed is also quite low, but still positive, not decrease. We get evasion, which is completely irrelevant to us, and we get on my ones, but I think the range is like, how much is it? 20 to 30 critical hit chance. So those are basically perfect, and they kinda, in my opinion at least, enable the crit build. We of course using 2 weapon set talents, because it's just godly. The amount of free power and utility we get from this is just irreplaceable, and that often has to be all spell skills, sigil of power stuff. There's just no competition about that. I just love to have 6 to all spell skills, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna spend a couple of divine orbs just to get 2 more spell skills for that offhand. I just hope I will find one with 6 of them, but all that matters is to have spell skills. The like other stuff you can have on it is just straight up casting speed. It's just the only thing you really need, because all we do with this thing is we put our sigil of power and we put our curse with it. Rest is going back to our main hand. And on our main hand, probably the best thing you can do is a wand and a focus. A wand with 5 lightning spell skills and focus with +2 to all skills. Like the ranks of spell skills are just like they are just the best thing. But I happen to find myself not the perfect one I would love, but 200 mana, some extra fire and cold, which I don't have, so I have like the possibility of ignite and chill. Yeah, kinda cope with it. I'd love to have like spell damage, lightning damage, but what this also has is 105 crit hit chance and 99% shock chance, and I paid for it 0. I dropped that one, so I'm 100% rolling with it. Funny enough, I have one same stuff like this, just with increased cast speed and mana regen, but spell damage and lightning damage, and I truly believe this is way better. 7 to all lightnings, 27 mana, but I decided to sell it, even though whenever I put it my spark goes into, yeah, from 54 to 72. But I need currency. And the rest of the gear is basically energy shield focus, because we're playing Eldritch. We have Everlasting Gaze Azure Amulet, which is, yeah, our source of survival on very high part of it. I have mental toughness just because I'm broke and I don't really have other distilled emotions to apply something else, but I kinda love this one, not gonna lie. So till I drop myself like 2 isolations and I can think about other possible atonements, I'm gonna stick with this one for now. but the amulet got quite cheap, and it's a mandatory thing whenever your gear is not straight up god level. My chest is with mana regen implicit, which is like always on this chest we only have energy shield when we have the implicit for mana regen, and I of course have some spirit because I want to have cast on shock, maximum energy shield, increased energy shield because everything else is a waste straight up, and cold resistance to get up to my resistances. They are still not all capped, but I'm aiming to get a better Ventors, which fills the rest of the spirit I require for the build. And I'm just straight up thinking to leave my Grand Spectrum instead of selling it and getting a bit better resistances on the Ventor and finishing my spirit to have 190 with only this chest and only the ring, and 190 why? Because I want to have Cast on Shock and Green Fist both active at all times, but for now whenever I do mapping my Green Fist goes on, and whenever I do bossing my Cast on Shock shines. My build before Ingenuity was straight up focused to fill my resistances, so I had some mana on it, I had strength so I could equip the other chest I was using, and I was using one of these, so this is just spirit, but I wanted like spirit without Ventors, because before I wanted other ring, but now with Ingenuity everything changed, so I want spirit on the ring, because I'm getting extra spirit off of my Ingenuity, which dropped with quite nice roll. So I was only using that belt to fill the resistances, aiming to get Ingenuity, because with Ingenuity I need like all elemental resistances or something like this on the ring and I'm done. Like all the rest can be cast speed, mana, intelligence. The gear's not perfect, far from perfect I'd say, but as you saw, Arbiter +4 difficulty, he's just getting blasted. In terms of boots, I just focused on getting all the possible movement speed. I corrupted it to get extra energy shield. They are also only energy shield. I just of course forgot to upgrade them before I corrupted them, so that's that. Like, I don't know, 20 energy shield missing. And I got fire cold to fit my resistances and intelligence on it, which I think is perfect, because I could chip out on the helm and just go for full energy shield on it. And same goes to the chest, I could just focus on getting a bit of the cold at least, and get that high energy shield values, plus spirit. And I wanna corrupt them to get another socket, like that helm, that actually worked with the corruption, and I got another socket for that iron rune. And this is also the reason why I'm trying to get resistances on different sources, so I can use the iron rune. But of course, Iron Rune only increases the energy shield armor evasion on the item it's in. That's why this item has cold resistance, because evasion is the biggest wherever. For the flasks, if anyone wondering, yeah, they are all quite fucking irrelevant till you get the unique ones, and you don't really have much options, because you have one unique for mana, one unique for life, what you want on a Sorc with Stormweaver, that's all about, like mana. Mana is of course the mana flask that just instantly fills your mana, deals insane amount of damage, especially for the way the spec is played, and is just, in my opinion, impossible to replace in any kind of way. Damn, that took some nice time to go over the gear alone, and we're about to start skills, so I hope that's not gonna take that long. But basically we have Lightning Bolt, which only holds my support gems, so I don't have to keep them here, I never use it. Sigil of Power has area of effect, duration, and stun threshold with cooldown, but there are options whenever I go for projectile speed and the duration of abilities for all of the abilities. Instead of just having it on the other weapon, I swap this to my spark, because my spark will do just fine even if we remove all these damage gems. I can guarantee you it will not really matter much. I just realized I had a wrong gem, so it looks like this, more like, so it would be even crazier whenever I equip the better weapon, but yeah. This is always, and this is always, and this is always an option to swap whenever you need the duration, the speed of the projectile, and other stuff whenever you swap the build, depending if you like it or not. I don't mind having no duration nor the projectile speed on Spark, but I saw many people play it, and I saw uses of it, because whenever I do Simulacrum, I go for that. And I don't think there is anything better actually. Speed and duration on your projectiles for Spark reaching 4 and nearly 100 of the bonus speed is just perfect there, because all in Simulacrum that happens that can screw you up is body block. And I think this is one of the biggest differences between all other Stormweaver builds that I saw, because my Orb of Storm is literally used to kill bosses, because it's broken. It really is broken and people sleeping on the potential of it. But I only use the exposure, the more chance to shock, the bigger shock on it, and more exposure applied by the Orb of Storm, and I use this. One extra Orb of Storm, because these 5 seconds that it's up, I can just spam my spark and discharge both of orbs so many times that there ain't no way the boss leaves. And whenever I do this into mobs, they all just melt, disappear instantly, and there is no shot that anything I like better than this. So much shock chance, like all my debuffs are always there whenever I need with double orb. It's just short, so whenever you don't want it to be 5 seconds, I suggest swapping the +1 to something else, or putting some duration for both of your weapons, plus putting the duration, the super gem, also on the orb. Also for me, it's a big caveat that all of the 5 slots you see are corrupted, because I'm not the biggest fan of rarity drop, so I only ever saw one perfect jewelry orb and I instantly sold it. So yeah, all my other abilities are quite on the cheap side in terms of amount of the gems I can put in them. But as you saw, the build still does quite well, so I'm just scared to see what it does once I have everything sorted properly. So when it comes to custom shock, I have 2 lightning conduits in it, and I have inevitable critical and elemental focus. If I add one more, that would be an utility one, because I would either put the electrocution on it, or more damage, possibly considered casting, but do not do what other people do, please. Do not put this gem in there, because it does not work. If you take a look, let's remove this one, because it resets all the time. Lightning Conduit is not an AoE ability, it's a single target hit, and it's hard to explain because it hits the amount of X targets that are in the cone, but that hits not an AoE, that's a single target lightning coming down. Because if you see, the average damage per use is 30k. Whenever I remove this one, 24. So you can clearly see it in real time on your damage defenses. When you put this, you only get 10 meter lowered to 7. There is no damage increase, there is no gain having this in conduit unless you just straight up want to hit less targets possible. So do not do this atrocity, because I saw channels with 1 million plus subscribers telling you to use this gem in lightning conduit setups. No, do not do it, it does not fucking work. I mean, it does work, okay, but it just makes it less AoE, so it just makes it weaker, does not change any damage or anything, so yeah. But whenever I do mapping, I use Green Fist because it's just amazing. It gives you double of your energy shield, and my energy shield is nothing. I saw people with 4 to 5 to 6 or even more base shield. You have 10k? Well, with this you will have 20k. It's just irreplaceable, it's just so amazing. Like, gives you so much survival, and whenever you're even in the mapping on the boss, what you do is click this whenever you go to the boss, and swap back whenever you do mobs, because all that matters is to survive to the boss. The boss is piece of cake. And as you can see on the footage here, the boss is quite easy to be done even without custom shock, but just remembering to swap to it will save you a lot of like evading and stuff, cause he will just get one tapped the fuck out. And to be honest, at that point I skipped so many bosses with that raw damage we can do that I don't even know what to do on that boss, so I'm just doing some random evades. There are also 2 important additions to the build that people usually do not use for whatever reason they don't. We have Eye of the Winter. With Unleash, it applies easily, as you saw on the footage just now, all the 10 stacks of the critical weakness. And we have Voltaic Mark that, after upgrading it with the Gem Cutter for 20 quality, has 45 increased effect for our shock on the marked enemy, which is perfect for bosses. And it also gives 50% chance to shock that boss, so it synergizes even more with custom shock and all of that good stuff. And we of course have conductivity, mana tempest, all that standard stuff that usually Stormweavers use. We have custom shock with 2 lightning conduits. Remember, important to upgrade them to 20, so it has 20% chance to reapply shock whenever it consumes it. So the other one can also spunk for quite the beautiful damage. We of course have Archmage, which is just, yeah, we cannot really have the same ever results without it. And we have the mana regen in it, because my spirit just perfectly lets me use one of these 10 spirit reservation gems whenever I have cast on Shock and Archmage both active, 1 spirit left, just beautiful. And I can have this active. If I wasn't lazy, I would carry mana remnants with me to swap it out till I'm at the boss, then put the cast on Shock, but that is too much min-maxing for me. You can do that if you want, because you have place to fit mana remnants, which also overflow your mana, blah blah blah. And the best thing about the Grim Feast in first place is overflow, which enables you to have double energy shield. But we're spending so much mana that overflow on mana remnants will not really play that big overall. But we will have better mana regen definitely during the mission. And second of all, I forgot to mention Voltaic Mark, Eye of Winter. Not fucking matter what support gems you have in this shit. Unleash is the only important thing in Eye of the Winter. So with gear and skills out of the way, let's go to the passives. Here we are flexible outside of our ascendancy, because our ascendancy is not that flexible. We go for the empowered Arcane Surge, of course, just too good. Nothing much to be said about that. Double shock, just too good. We have 79 and 79 increase instead of just 79. What else I can say about that? It just blows my mind. It's depending how much magnitude you can get yourself, depending on your budget. Well, this is how much value of this you get. You can get 100 shock. Well, second 100 damage increase on the target. Not much to be said about that. And increased exposure, of course, that makes it 40% baseline, so all the percentage increases to your exposure, therefore gonna be counted off of 40% plus X other multiplier instead of 20 plus 20%. So that is just godly. That just doubles your base. That means all the other increases to exposure are also kind of doubled. So that's that. I would ever replace this only with the Tempest Collar, but I didn't really find it useful. It was spawning in random places, so the biggest whatever about the Elemental Storm. I'm kind of disappointed because I was really hyped about it. So my passive tree, instead of starting into the energy shield like many people, I sometimes swap here and connect it here and just grab this one. I don't go for this ones or this one because I don't think it's worth it. But what's worth it is the mana regen here on the way, some spell damage, that's a filler, and lightning damage plus chance to shock. As much shock as possible is just godly, why not? That's our main thing. We can put double the 100% increase basically. Quite easily we can reach 100 by the way on the shock. We grab this ones, energy shield, mana regen, intelligence. We grab this one, pure crit chance nodes, no crit damage, it's only here. So we grab that one. That's for my first weapon set, so for the damage. Here we grab mana regen whenever we shock enemy recently, and the magnitude of shock we inflict, cause both are just godly. And I went down here temporarily with 4 points, but I will swap away from that in 2 levels, I believe, if I remember correctly. And that's just temporal 36 damage and the person crit with possibility going here. The only issue is crit damage starts it, so that's a wasted point, because our gloves always set the crit to 300, so we can't increase it nor decrease it as long as the gloves are up. Also remember that depending on the level you are at, there's many temporal passives that you can pick, so you have better effect, because before I used to play this, but then when I gathered all the points required, I swapped away. But basically what we continue with is weapon set 2 for curses here. So they are longer, they are stronger, everything perfect for the curses here. And then we head to the middle, which we go here for the curses. We grab a jewel slot, about jewels after the passives. That's 1 point strength for me to be able to equip a gem. Remember, 5 of the stat you get here, it increases one of your possible gems. So the red ones are the strength ones. So I only for 4. So I had to stack 1 passive here for the strength. And of course we grab the Eldritch Battery, but that's only if you have this, or you're gonna be dying and being one with the floor 24/7. That means lose XP, lose time, etc, etc. So this you only grab once you have this. And we grab the mana nodes. We go up here for the crit, since we're in the crit build. That also gives us a bit of defense, since 25 reduced crit hit chance against us. We grab the maximum energy shield. We grab the intelligence, because why not? 25 for literally 1 point going off of the energy. And here we go down there, all the way down here, because the maximum lightning damage, of course. And 25 chance on consuming shock on an enemy to reapply it. Gives us 45 with the lightning conduit gem upgrade. This is just pure perfection in terms of slapping the bosses in an instant. But on the way here, we have 50 increased crit hit chance and 20 reduced crit damage bonus, so non-negative, only positive, 50 crit chance gain and another 20 on the way. So we grab that for the weapon set 1, both here and here. We go back here. In the standard build, I use only this 3 nodes for the weapon set 2. And whenever I wanna do simulacrum, I swap this out. And I put it in general for both weapon sets. And I grab this as well. But most important nodes to grab after we go up are those nodes. All the here, lightning damage, 2 increased lightning damage per 10 intelligence, and 25 shock duration and magnitude of shock we inflict. But then going to the left, we have the exposure. We could grab this, but that would be only for boss, honestly. But that's not necessary. I used to use it before, but my curse is on 70. This is on like 50, nearly 70 is the curse. So I'm not really sure about it. I could go down on these 3 to get this for the boss. But then again, I miss 1 more point to reach the big node, so I leave it like this for now. I just swap those 3 for some damage wherever I can grab whenever I go boss, because I will not be needing any energy shield. And we grab the jewel slot, we go down here, we grab this, 40 damage on elemental for critting and 20 crit hit chance, just perfect. Elemental resistances and elemental damage, perfect, easier capping your resistances. And this increased magnitude of non-damaging ailments, which is also shock, of course, just another time, perfect. It's longer, since this node reduces the duration, so we grab some duration back, and the magnitude of it for both of the shock we inflict, just perfect cluster here. Later on, I will go here, of course, to grab another jewel slot. Mostly I will grab this for the increased maximum mana, especially that my gear will get way better, so I will have way more benefit out of this mana. And we ignore everything else here, outside of the fact if we don't want the duration but we want AoE size, then for the weapon set, because here for weapon set 2 we go for the duration, but if you prefer the AoE, you can grab AoE here, or before you can reach here, you can grab the AoE size here. But the most important for the weapon set 2 is to grab the curses. The duration, the effect, all for the courses, except the one here that I saw many people recommending. I don't like it. I don't really like that one. Waste of points for me. I'd rather have it longer or bigger, but for all of the abilities. And whenever I swap for Spark with the support gem, that's a 4-second duration with nearly 100 projectile speed increase, but usually I don't need it. I mostly kill the boss before I even get to press Spark, so having this on 31 seconds so I can put everything before the boss actually starts on the ground is just perfect for me, and that's what I'm always gonna go for. And at the moment I'm level 92, and what's left for me to go into this build, like a standard, without changing anything for the boss yet, I would go here, grab the gem, grab this, and then I would fill out with the chaos inoculation for the 8 missing points. But as you can see, I have mind over matter, which is mainly for the mapping. Whenever I go boss, I just fucking hate this. I don't fucking need it. It just ooms me. It doesn't let me kill the boss properly. If I fail to crit 2 of the lightning conduits, if they don't reapply the shock, I'm fucked if I have this. But if I don't have this, the boss will still not manage to do fuck all to me, so I always get this shit out of the build whenever I do bossing. And whenever I do bossing, I often tend to take this off, those 3 off, and this one off, just to go here and grab reduced mana cost and increased mana regeneration just for the boss. Because if the boss is able to even deal one hit to us, we failed. Because we can erase the boss from the existence, and that's what's important. So, all the bosses, we have the advantage, well, except the monkey in the mapping. That monkey is always like closing the arena before you enter. But for most other bosses, like Arbiter is showing the intro, like the Jinn, we can all everything put on the ground. I don't use flame wall anymore, but I have it in the back just in case. But I just put the sigil. I put this on the ground whenever I do bossing. I use the support gem to make it on the ground, so I can pre-put it without having to think about the delay. Then whenever the boss is already gonna be up, or even before, I have those 2 orbs down. But I make sure I can cast at least once before they disappear when the boss starts. And all I do with this down, I have already probably like the sigil stacked, because everything costs so much. Look, boom, 3 out of the 4 stages. The curse on the ground, mana tempest, and whenever I can hit the boss, I send my Eye of the Winter and I voltaic mark. Voltaic mark is just crazy fast on the cast, so even without much cast speed, you will be able to just like discharge the orbs with just the voltaic mark. And basically that's when the boss dies. I really rarely get to press my spark. The boss has to have like the difficulty +4, the arbiter, the pinnacle boss. Those bosses only have like above 15 or 20 million HP that they can survive, that I can get to press spark once or twice before they die. But if I wouldn't be Uming, if I had better gear with more mana, they would not have a shot at surviving. This combo is just too powerful. The moment you're in your mana tempest, your sigil stacks crazy, and you press Eye of the Winter to apply the curse, then you voltaic mark to get giga shock, chance on shock, cast on shock, everything just starts to be put together in such a beautiful synergy that boss is just forced to say, well, GG, see ya. But I was using the flame wall before is cause my 5 points were here. I had increased elemental damage, 30 increased if I ignited enemy recently, so basically always whenever I put flame wall on the guy, and another 30 for whenever I shocked recently. But I just dropped on this, I went for some more crit and 36 damage from just critting, and basically what I'm aiming for is this jewel socket. And why the jewel socket is so important? Well, that's simply because fuck that maximum energy shield actually. Let's go for glass cannon for now, just for funs. And we grab some intelligence on the way and that jewel socket so I can show you the beauty of the jewels. And that beauty is 15 crit hit chance and 19 magnitude of shock we inflict. And we only look at the crit hit chance for spells or just crit hit chance, and that magnitude of shock we inflict or magnitude of ailments we inflict. Just make sure it's not damaging ones. So those are with the critical strike chance. So remember just magnitude of shock or overall ailments we inflict. Unless you reach as fuck and you have billion of divines and mirrors. But if you don't, you focus on some crit, at least 10 I'd say, and 20 increased magnitude of shock is perfect, but 15 is also fine, or 10 20. So all of mine's looking like this: magnitude of shock, crit hit chance, magnitude of shock, but also of all ailments, so I have 20 here as well, and another 15 19, and we go here 13 crit, 20 magnitude, and also triggered spells. And here, crit hit chance, area of effect of courses, magnitude of ailments, and 10 of maximum energy shield as stun threshold. So I'd say this is one of my perfect ones, because that threshold ain't that bad. But okay, let's not cope with the perfect, it's just the fully decent one, I'd say. But that's what we're aiming for on the jewels. The magnitude of shock and crit hit chance in one is just perfect. That basically gives us 46.89 chance on our spark to crit, and with inevitable critical, our lightning conduit is 62.1. But I'd have to be honest with ya, if I had perfect gear with like disgusting amount of mana, I would just play without the shield neck, and I would use this because of just how much fun I find into this one. It's just crazy, and I can always like use the other lightning bolt to temporarily hold the gems in, but I wish I just had like the 5th support socket, because I really want because you cannot upgrade like you can on the staff. You cannot upgrade the staff to get the chance to shock. So having electrocute on this is just perfect. And this is just auto proccing lightning ball. It's just so fun. Like, it is straight up more damage than the other one, because this is just pure defense. But that's only when you get perfect godly gear with piece load of everything. That is like the best, most fun you can go for, in my opinion. These auto lightning bolts are just so fun to use. The only issue is whenever I use this instead this, I'm just losing XP. So that's not very much action in the video, but that's all from me for now. So I hope you enjoyed the build. If you did, leave a like, comment, share and subscribe. And as always, see you on the next one.